Declan Rice has been one of the most spoke about players in Arsenal's team over the last few weeks. But against Tottenham, he proved to everyone he is back to his best. And in this video, we're going to talk about why a lot of the criticism is unfair on him and how he can get back to helping Arsenal win games. So let's get into it. Now, I want to defend Declan Rice a lot in this video because I do think a lot of the talk has been quite weird. I believe since Chelsea away specifically, Declan Rice has actually been very good this season. Now, there has been some dips in his performance. I'm not going to act like there hasn't been. And some of the stats do show that. He's got his lowest ever pass completion and he's only winning around 47% of his challenges, his worst since 2021. However, there's got to be a lot of context given around why this is happening. It's not all down to him. I think the fact that he has moved into that left centre mid role, into a double pivot and into a single pivot at times has been quite baffling, how he's had to keep changing position and role. And games where he's specifically the single pivot, he has been very good and very aggressive, which I do think is a major thing. Now, these are not the only situations that is the reason why this has happened. He's had fitness concerns. He has played a tremendous amount of football over the last couple of years, which you expect him to dip in form eventually. But I do think now we're halfway through the season, he is really starting to get to the best Declan Rice we have seen in an Arsenal shirt. Now, first of all, looking at the Tottenham game, I will say I still think there's a little bit of a disconnect of what people actually expect from Rice. Now, a lot of Arsenal fans, I think, realistically know what you get from Rice. You get someone that is going to do progressive passes, but he isn't necessarily going to do it all the time. He can carry the ball forward, but he's mostly just got to sweep up and be that anchor in the defence, making sure no breaks happen and keeping the pressure up. Now, I think when people watch him in isolated games, and I've seen a lot of analysts talk about this, how he's quite negative on the ball this season, doesn't make enough good passes, which, okay, yeah, he definitely could do that, but it's not exactly a real big thing for him. He's not the person that has to make them passes in order for the team to attack, and he can't do every single thing in football. You know, he's so good at a lot of other things within the game that it's not really that deep in my opinion. However, I think most of the frustration comes from the fact that people know he has the ability to do it, and against Tottenham he was really good on the ball. He made loads of passes into the final third, made loads of good long passes and had a 94% completion rate in the game. I felt like he was really good at assessing danger and where he should pass the ball, and there was many moments where he'd switch the ball what we want him to do on either side, and I think most of his work down the left side particular was quite good. But he is the facilitator out there. He is the person that creates and gains that space to pick the ball up to allow other people to run off him when he comes deeper, but also being the person that runs through to give options for other players. And I think he does actually work really effectively when Arsenal really get every single player of their team pushed up against Tottenham's defence. We saw it a lot. We see it a lot when they have control. You know, you get Saliba, Gabriel there, and even Miles Lewis-Skelly, but Rice is in there being able not only to switch the ball but to make passes and runs within the other players. Now, this is one of the big things with Rice. I think a lot of people don't like him playing in the left centre mid role, and I have criticised it in the past and still don't think it should be Arsenal's go-to all the time. But I do like how he can play in a double pivot against teams that are going to be quite transitional based. Obviously right now it's alongside Partey, but in the future potentially Zubimendi, and he can push into that left half channel when he needs to actually help us in attack. In this game I really saw a great version of Rice where his running into the box I thought was so effective. Now, he's done this quite a few times, I think, recently, where he's made really good runs off of the ball and actually been one of the only players from the midfield that actually doesn't want the ball to feet all the time, which I think is key. And in this game, I felt like we played off that quite well down that side. He worked with Lewis-Skelly, he worked with Trossard on that left, who I think all of the left side had quite a good game personally. I think they were really good in this time. And it just created constant movements, which gave Arsenal quite a good balance of different things. There's movements that he did off the ball as well, where he'd bring players away from Miles Lewis-Skelly. Miles Lewis-Skelly had the ball open up so he could pass it to the right side, and off the ball his running was effective when we were going up. And we saw this as well with his box crashing abilities. Yet again, another thing that's up in the air if people really like it, but it has been effective in the past, and he had some really good moments where he came back post, Arsenal had an overload, and he sometimes did some really good touches of control to pass it inside, and eventually Tottenham last ditch defending will get a block on it, but it's definitely great play there and helped us going forward. And off the ball, when Arsenal didn't have it, he was great as well. I really thought his press in particular was amazing. Now, I've said this in the Miles Lewis-Skelly video where I thought everyone pressed incredibly well in this game, and the counter pressing has been key. But when Declan Rice is on it, the counter press is amazing. He can cover so much ground across the whole pitch that is actually unreal. He is sometimes the main one that actually presses into that left half channel and will actually follow the ball to the goalkeeper. A few times this made the goalkeeper panic and kick the ball out, and we won it from that way. But he also has the ability to run back and defend if they do go down where he is. Now, not only his pressing was very effective, but also his off the ball work in helping the players around him. Declan Rice in his interview said he may see himself as a bit of a leader down that side now, and you could definitely see it with Miles Lewis-Skelly. There was a few times where it's clearly a tactical change where we wanted Miles Lewis-Skelly to be aggressive on a tackle so he could run into the channel, pick the ball up and run into space. So Havertz, Trossard and Declan Rice would always come back and cover for him, even two of them usually going deeper than him. Now, Declan Rice did this all game where he covered brilliantly after running around the whole midfield and pressing fantastically. There was times where he was there for the aerial duel if they kicked out the left side and being deeper man marking the midfielders who had ran past Miles Lewis-Skelly. So I thought that was really excellent as well. And that's what you need from your midfielders. People that can run around, gives them just more ability. And this off the ball work is so good that it just allows him to be able to make loads of tackles and loads of defensive work all over the pitch. Now, I do think a change from Declan Rice when he was at West Ham. He was a lot more of a cruncher tackler there. He'd pick the ball up, run into space, get the team up the field. It's a little bit how you see Miles Lewis-Skelly play for us now when he inverts into the middle. Now, for Arsenal, he's clearly just not that player. He's not the person that needs to make the most tackles in a game. There is going to be moments in games where he does do that because of how aggressive he is and how good he is at pressing and off the ball. But a lot of the time, he will sit back. He'll actually come back in the defensive four to just track runners and make sure people don't get past and allow other players to make them aggressive tackles, such as Partey, Lewis-Skelly, and even if Gabriel wanted to push up, that would be what happened. And his defensive work recoveries were brilliant yet again. He's just got so calm in defence. He never really worries when there's a player trying to go past him, and he always is managed to get a foot on it, which I think is excellent. And he's not someone that gets in a lot of duels in this game. We were actually very effective at stopping Tottenham before they really got into dangerous areas, and if they did, we had a lot of people back. So Declan Rice never really had to get into that much physical battles, in which he actually succeeded in most of the ones he did anyway. And I do want to talk about the set pieces as well. This guy is so effective from set pieces. It's something that he's always been good at. Even when he's not playing the best, we know how good his deliveries are, but they've been really enhanced from that Dubai camp just last year now, 12 months ago. Before that, he'd barely ever taken a set piece in his life, and now suddenly he's probably our most reliable set piece taker other than Bukayo Saka. Now, a lot of people always talk about Arsenal's corners, but when Declan Rice and Saka play, they are so much more effective, and we barely even really score that many corner goals without them. And I think when Neri came in and actually showed a good level at them as well, but people like Odegaard and Trossard just aren't as good at them, which is quite surprising if you think about it. Now, the amount of whip he gets on it, the amount of pace he gets on it, and he knows now, he said in the interview after the game, that where to put it, he just needs to put it back post and allow Gabriel to basically do the rest. And okay, yeah, we got a little bit lucky with the Solanke deflection, but it's because two players are on Gabriel and they can't get the ball off him because he is that effective. There was a few other good set pieces he did, and there was some good crosses, and if you look at the stats, it says 1 out of 8 crosses successful, and this is mostly because people just weren't getting their head on the ball. We didn't really have that much authority of headers in this game. We had Gabriel, of course, and Saliba, but there was no Marino because obviously Rice was taking the set pieces and playing in his position. But overall, I don't think a lot of the deliveries were actually bad, and they were just us not getting the end of it, which shows the level he is at. Now, the position that Rice was in this game was quite interesting because there was points where he was kind of in the left half channel, but I think a lot of the time he gave it up for Miles Lewis-Skelly to run and carry the ball into that area, but he still made them box crushing runs into the box, so it's kind of a little bit like his old role but a bit different. Now, I do think if this is the idea with Rice, it actually works really successful, especially when he can cover for people like Lewis-Skelly anyway, and him being further back may be better because he can cover more ground. Now, and if Zubimendi is to sign, I do think this could be a great setup for both of them to play in, although I do have worries about the Odegaard thing, which is another complete worry, nothing to do with Rice. Overall, I felt like this is important to do because I think a lot of criticism has been on Rice, which has kind of been a bit unfair. Yes, some games he could do better passing, yes, some games he could do better defensively, but he is doing a lot and compensating for a lot of the players around him with the injuries we've had. I also think with the fact he's had a knock, it's quite unfair to really judge him on that. that, and he's still been playing a good 6 or 7 out of 10, and now he's starting to get back to his best, which is of course a 10 out of 10. Overall, in the comments, let me know what you guys think about Declan Rice, and if you like this video, please go and watch my video about Miles Lewis-Skelly against Tottenham. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.